foot massage today. Mandy has particularly ticklish feet. Using a broad surface, it's less ticklish for Mandy. I'm just engaging some movement through the feet using a soft fist. As you're working on the feet, it's important to note that you're not just working on the feet. As I'm pressing the foot this way, we're lengthening the calf and the back. So you're accessing the lower leg. If I get a hold, I can gently traction her body. I can even see a little bit of neck movement, neck and head as she releases and relaxes. I'll often take one foot, engage a light jostle just to get them to release. If you time it just right, both feet at the same time, back and forth, getting them to let go and unwind. Contraction, leaning. You can push in and then traction again. Any movement that you feel like you're tractioning the lumbar spine, tractioning the legs, engaging movement across the joints, all the way from the ankle, the knees, the hips, into the spine itself. And back to a broad pressure over the plantar surface of the feet. I'm going to engage one foot now with a little thumb pad pressure. And movement. The foot contains a huge number of small bones and muscles that move around. You can look up an anatomy chart for all the various names, but it's so many that even I, as a trained body worker, forget. But this main spot of the arch, from the ball of the foot over to the heel, this one line, is usually a prime culprit for tension. Working with females in particular, females do inordinate amounts of work with their feet, wearing high heels, sandals, different kinds of footwear. Changes their foot position, makes musculature work more. Test the external rotation of the leg and ankle. And always being mindful of the receiver and how much pressure they can take. Mobilizing the toes, mobilizing the tarsals. Again, all those small foot bones. You can switch back and forth, side to side, one at a time, or both feet. Working through small foot bones, engaging movement. Again, you can use one foot or both feet at the same time, doesn't really matter. What's most important is the quality of your touch. Does the receiver feel like you are listening to their body instead of just forcing? And engaging quality contact. If I've lengthened the bottom of the foot, if I've lengthened these structures, I can then go in with a flat thumb pad and press gently. We have not tickled her once yet, though she smiles when I say tickle because she expects it any second. Movement, rolling back and forth. I can grab hold of the tarsal bones, even engaging the side-to-side movement within a gentle range. This lengthens all of the tissue and muscles around those bones. I say sometimes it feels deeper than deep tissue because I'm using movement to access the muscles at their origin and insertion, all the way down to bone. If I grab hold on either side of the foot, I'm going to give Mandy some options. This way, Mandy, or this way? She liked the first one, a little bit of traction. I'm gripped around the arch of the foot and just maintaining some traction. There's a slight foot point here. Now, this way or this way? Neither? The same? Now, what about here? Still prefer the traction? Engaging a small amount of communication, a small amount of feedback can make a huge difference to the foot massage you give. I'm letting her know that she's in control. I'm letting her choose how I work with her. I move my hand a little bit lower, right down to the ball pad of the foot, around the toes. I'm going to curl the toes over. And again, some traction or in. And you prefer the traction still? There we go. And I'm moving. How does it feel to me? It's got to feel good to both of us. And I suspect you prefer this motion? Yeah. Big, broad palms. This isn't what most people would typically think of in a foot massage, but I guarantee, based on her facial expression, this feels good. Movement, traction, length. And stretch back the opposite direction. You can work tissue very deeply, but you can't do it fast. You gotta wrap around the other foot, same as before. What's a good, comfortable hand grip? What feels good to me? And I suspect she will like the same thing as before, wrapped around the arch. The fingers, the heel of my palm is grabbing onto the plantar surface of the foot and the top. There's this grabbing the skin and then tractioning down and away. And then there was that little turn she enjoyed as well. Engage some movement. So I'm holding. This is a bit more like myofascial release for the feet. Holding there, providing some traction to skin. Switch my grip a bit lower. You can see me moving the toes there. When you learn to engage movement and you learn to play, things like this, moving the toes, big, broad, heel of hand motion. Moving the toes around. I'm accessing just below the joint where the toes meet the foot, just so I can roll and move them around. Again, engaging movement. It's a big part of my practice because muscles cause movement, and the way I access that soft tissue sometimes is by engaging movement itself. You can see the toes move, spread. Feels wonderful to people to go in and access this passively. And you learn to play. If I press more to this side, we get more big toe. If you press over here, more out towards the pinky. I'm gonna grab and traction, lengthen, pull. I'm also finding ways to stack my own body and hands to make this as effortless as possible for myself. And we return back to the plantar surface, lengthening and moving. can go back and forth, side to side. When you work on someone, think about how you would like to be worked on. How slow? What's the pace? Comfort level? Depth of pressure? And make sure that the receiver knows they can give you feedback. Good feedback can make or break someone giving massage. You can learn tons from asking the receiver questions. I feel more tension down here at the heel, so I'm still engaging that movement, but I got a thumb pad pressure. Mandy gave me a little bit of a facial expression when I did that. Too much there? Tender? A little bit. This part of the arch goes down onto the heel there. Part of that support structure. It's like a pin and stretch. I'm going to move slightly in. A little bit more pressure. Move the toes around again. Even this feels far more soft now from all that movement. You'll notice that we've applied no cream or lotion yet. Because she's a bit ticklish, I was afraid that would initiate that, so we're starting off this way. Still feels just as good. When I think of working the feet, I almost always think of the New Testament when Jesus washed the disciples' feet. There is something of an act of service going in and working on feet, something that most people just don't think about, just crammed in shoes. I'm externally mobilizing, and there's some thumb pad pressure. You'll notice that it's not a point of my thumb. It's not this. It's a big, broad, flat thumb. It means that I'm not jeopardizing my own hand as I work. I'll try the other side. See how much range of motion we have. A little tension around over here. When we talk about feet, it's not just feet. This has an effect on all of her. If she came in and told me that she had tension in her upper back and neck, I guarantee you if she'd let me work on her feet for an hour, she'd tell me it felt better. One of the things I notice about working on the lower body is I'm drawing her attention down into her lower body. She's having a different experience of her physical form. Little jostle. You can change the pressure on the hands, on the heel. Gives you slightly different pressure. Lots of movement. Form a gentle grip and then slide off of each toe. Gentle grip and slide. You can easily work on feet for 30 minutes to an hour if you really take your time, really work through the structures there. In private practice, my sessions are 3 hours. The reason I structured them that way is I wanted ample time to really work on someone in a way that was transformative. I wanted to be able to spend 30 minutes on the feet if I felt that was what was needed. And again, I'm changing the position of the heel of my hand. It doesn't really matter what grip I get so much as what feels good to the receiver. If you have to, you can again ask them for feedback, jostling them back and forth, shaking out the foot, shaking out all of those small foot bones. Broad pressure, back and forth. seeing what movement exists there. We go higher up towards the ankle. The leg feels supported. Good body work is nurturing. You're dealing with touch. When you deal with touch, you also deal with the ethics of touch and how much attention, focus do we give the receiver. Being a male therapist working on a number of female clients, there's a bit of touch hunger that women deal with because men in our society aren't particularly great at always giving nurturing touch that isn't expectant. So it's a big part of my practice in making women feel safe, nurtured, to be able to receive touch in a safe way. We've opened both feet. Oh, they're positively soft compared to when we started. I'm gonna go to one side. I'm over here along the heel. A little bit of finger pad pressure. Working around here, feeling into soft tissue. She had a little bit of response when I got into here. It's pretty tight. Now, was it ticklish? Tender and ticklish at the same time. So I give her broad pressure and just hang out for a second. When I've got this broad pressure, I'm gonna lean and traction that at the same time. You're always gonna work at delivering the right amount of pressure. The most important thing is that we make quality contact with the receiver and we let them know that they are safe. I'm not going to purposefully go in and tickle. Some tightness right through here. Again, big, broad thumb pad pressure. If I felt like my hand was crimping down, if it was starting to cause an issue, I could come in and reinforce the other thumb. Takes the pressure off of my left hand. My left hand can actually relax a little more while I'm still delivering pressure with that right thumb. And working my way out towards the big toe. Tons of tools. If you decide that the thumbs get tired and you want to use a bit of a knuckle, always exploring ways of working, delivering pressure that feels safe. I can block with this hand to give me a little pressure. Change the angle, that's probably a little bit more intense. I can feel the tissue and muscle in there. Bit of movement. Too much or tickle? A little too much? Okay. Now, you'll notice I had to ask whether it was tickle or too much. I was applying a very small amount of pressure, but that small amount of pressure was through a fairly pointed knuckle. That's a hard structure. It doesn't have as much give. And I just back off. Go to something else that she could handle a little bit better. You can even see just a little bit of blood flow right through this area. The skin is turned pink. It's good. Feet don't get enough attention. They're locked away in shoes. It's amazing how much more agreeable your wife or girlfriend is after you have massaged her feet for 30 minutes. Try it out sometime. Working through the plantar surface of the foot. Again, a broad thumb. Feeling my way along for dense tissue. When we're dealing with touch, what I jokingly tell people is that I've never had an argument with my wife while I was massaging her feet. Nurturing someone, working on them, again, same sort of area, along the arch, right on the inside, a little tender there. She gave me a bit of a response. I've got a good solid grip there, and then I'm gonna traction and lean back. I'm just pulling this skin along with me and then leaning in. I can shift from one position to another, so long as it's comfortable for my hands. I can wrap around to give me a little more. Reinforces that grip. Right through there. Now again, pin and stretch. This spot right here feels tender. I'm gonna hold and just fold her foot right into my finger. You can see that my thumb is stacked. It's comfortable. There's some engaged musculature in my hand, but I'm allowing some deep pressure there. Even just that little bit of movement and shift invites a bit more pressure. I'm looking at her face to make sure that she feels comfortable. And slowly, a little bit higher, right up to the ball of the foot. Some massage therapists get annoyed if people ask them to work on them at parties. I almost never do. Because so much of my work is done clothed, I love working on people at parties and then forming a small circle showing people how to work on each other. Part of the education process. Now, I'm holding this spot. I'm using the toe to move, because when I press the toe this way, it lengthens underneath my finger. I'm looking at her facial expression to make sure it's not too much. Guiding right through there, and then some slide. And then a little more soft movement. In this instance, we've had no cream, no glide, primarily just mobilizing and using what you would call maybe a pressure point on the surface of the feet, grabbing around. If I grab both, find a good spot in the arch, grab big and broad, and traction both. I lean my own body and move it around so I still feel comfortable, mobile, not like I'm stuck in one position. Lengthen both calves using the bottoms of the feet, curling the toes back. Feel free to repeat any of those pieces that you like, working around the heel, around the ankle. All of this skin here, even if all you did is grab hold and just traction and pull skin, still feels good. Half of what we do giving massage is just engaging touch. I guarantee you my mother feels much more warm and receptive. I work on her feet. Double-handed grip, same foot, got a little bit of a shift in the ankle there. Felt a little clunk. Movement, pressure, making it safe, comfortable in my hand. I started to tense up there, so I'm gonna switch my hand positioning and grip. When I'm making contact with tissue, I tend to think of massaging myself while I'm working on the receiver, delivering pressure, working around structures. I'm pressing in the arch. Do you see that little bit of toe movement? Because all of these structures influence that. You're using movement to access muscle and tissue. Switch it out. I guarantee she will let me go another hour just doing this. People's contact with the ground will completely change In my yoga classes, I often have students use a tennis ball to massage their feet in class. And they'll go from mountain pose, the classic standing pose. I'll have them massage a single foot and then stand in mountain pose again. Completely different. Completely opens up tissue, makes them much more aware of their ground, of their contact with the floor. Lots of self-massage in my yoga classes and trainings for massage therapists. Again, both feet, tons of movement, mobilizing. And finally, just a light traction. And maybe back to where we started. Just feeling the difference. Her feet feel light, very open. I can feel all the shifting and those small foot bones. She let go, releases and unwinds, and that's what we're working towards. You don't have to use excessive pressure to get someone to release. 9 times out of 10, good contact and traction on skin is enough. Working through movement.